Hi, everybody. We're here with reporter extraordinaire from the Young Turks. It's Jordan Chariton. Hi, Jordan. How are you?
Hey, Jimmy. How's it going?
Good. Now, listen, you've got some great information. So what's going on in Florida, I just want to set it up. There's a lawsuit happening against the DNC. There are a bunch of Bernie voters who are in Florida. They're filing a complaint seeking redress for their what they did was they donated, and they feel like they got screwed over because the DNC wasn't following their charter. So, Jordan, pick it up from there. Who filed this lawsuit, and what have we found out?
Yeah, so the lawsuit was filed last year. There's been other folks following it down there. And it was brought by Bernie Sanders voters, basically wanting their money back. And that's a lot of voters. Bernie had nearly 7 million individual contributors and wanting their money back based on fraud. Essentially that they donated the money under the assumption that this was a fair, even-handed contest between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. And the DNC broke its own charter and bylaws, which state they're neutral. And you remember Debbie Donor Downer, as I call her, going on TV constantly and, we're neutral, yada, yada. So most people kind of have been laughing about it and say, oh, those Bernie bros, sour grapes. But they were in court last week giving their arguments. It's a possibility that it could move to even a trial. And the judge actually, I read the whole over 100 pages. The judge was asking pretty probing questions of the defense. The DNC defense is as arrogant as you would expect in really a shocking thing that you can't believe they'd say in public. The lawyer, Bruce Spiva is his name, said, well, not that we did this, wink, but if we wanted to, we could do it like the old days, go in back rooms over cigars and just pick the nominee. So he said this in court.
So let me just get this straight. So just so people understand, the DNC has a charter, and their charter says they have to administer a Democratic primary in fair, unbiased, so they can't favor one candidate over another. So all these people made donations because they wanted a fair primary. Turns out it wasn't, because WikiLeaks proved it wasn't, that they were in collusion with the Clinton campaign, favoring Hillary Clinton's campaign over the progressive Bernie Sanders. Just like everyone said, the DNC's first order of business was to defeat the agenda of Bernie Sanders, which means defeat the agenda of the workers in America. That's what they did. And they were all the while, Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, who was the DNC chair, kept going on TV saying that we are fair and impartial and we are neutral and we are unbiased. So she constantly lied. And then when it was revealed in WikiLeaks that they were in collusion, she had to resign in shame. She didn't seem all that embarrassed, by the way. So now you're saying that the lawyers for the DNC are admitting that it was rigged, right? They're saying, hey, yeah, we don't have to run a fair primary if we don't want to. That's what that guy's saying?
I mean, he did say we didn't do it this way, but if we wanted to, we could.
Oh.
I mean, you read it between the lines. Obviously, when Debbie Wasserman-Schultz is going on TV and saying, oh, chairs were thrown at the Nevada State Convention, things like that, it's not only that she's like stating she's neutral when she's not, but she's actively going on TV attacking one candidate with fraudulent charges. The lawyer also said, and I quote, there's no right to not have your candidate disadvantaged or have another candidate advantage. There's no contractual obligation here. It's not a situation where a promise has been made that is an enforceable promise, he said. I'm not a lawyer, but I think in the term bylaws is laws.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So you can't. So I heard someone else, Jordan. I heard someone else say this. Well, it's just donations. Donations are donations. You can't get them back. That is not true. I know of a guy who said his wife had cancer, so they had a fundraiser and people donated. Turned out she didn't, and they just took the money because he was underwater on his house, and that's called fraud. You can't do that. So you can't solicit a donation under a false pretense, which is what the DNC did. They solicited donations from Bernie Sanders supporters saying, help us run a primary. We're going to run it fair. And then they didn't. That's fraud. You can't do that. But what you're saying, the argument they're making in court is that we could do that if we wanted.
And also, I mean, this isn't a lawsuit, but it's broader than just donors. You have to assume that the millions of people who volunteered, many of them just quitting their jobs and volunteering full time, were doing it under the guise that, okay, may the best man or woman win. We're going to go out there, rah, 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 knock on doors. So it encompasses the whole thing. You know, all these people who gave to Bernie, and by extension, let's say it was an establishment candidate who was defrauded. I mean, that's not going to happen in our lifetime, but let's say for whatever reason, Cory Booker runs next time and he fell out of favor. He said something wrong or he didn't shill enough. Well, do you want your candidate screwed? So, and they also, I mean, the lawyer continued to make these weird comments. He said, you have a charter that says you have to be, where the party has to be even-handed. And just to get the language exactly right, that they would be even-handed and impartial, I believe, is the exact language. And, you know, that's not self-defining, Your Honor. I mean, that's kind of like, you know, saying, who's a Baptist?
What? That's what the lawyer said? He's trying to... So the language is literally, their bylaws state they have to be even-handed and impartial. And he said, what does that mean?
He said, I mean, that's kind of like, you know, saying, who's a Baptist? Which I guess he's suggesting.
Is that the no true Scotsman fallacy? Is that what he's saying?
I don't even know.
It's not, well, so he's saying like there's no way you could anybody could say any process is not fair and impartial, right? Who's to say this is fair and we're saying it is. Anybody could say any process. So he's trying to. So that's exactly what that is, which is bullshit.
I think what he's trying to stretch like, well, neutrality is in the eye of the beholder.
Yes.
Who's to say it's neutral and it's not? But it's really not, because neutrality is just like you're not involved. Like you as the DNC are not involved other than structurally setting the debate time or, you know, sponsoring some of these things. You're not going on national TV. You're not. So, yeah, that would be neutrality. It's not like it's an objective definition what it's supposed to be. They also claimed, the lawyer claimed that the DNC and Debbie Wasserman Schultz's free speech rights are under attack. But again, you're forfeiting your free speech if you're calling yourself neutral. So, and I just want to add, because obviously the Democrats can't do anything, even defend a court case in law, without bringing up Donald Trump, the president.
No.
Yeah. So they said, Spiva pointed out that candidate Trump's promise to build a border wall funded by Mexico, it's not like if he doesn't follow through, his donors who might have donated to him based on that promise could sue him. And I pointed out in the story I wrote up, well, that's an individual. You're talking about a private company that has bylaws and a charter. So yeah, voters can't sue the president or the candidate for not following through because all of them would be in jail. But it's apples and oranges. But again, they brought up Trump's border wall promise that you wouldn't expect his donors or voters to sue him. Yeah, no shit. It was just a weird comparison. So clearly, and there's some people who said, listen, I find it very distasteful what he said, but by the letter of the law, that's what he's going to argue. But to tell you the truth, I don't think the judge was that impressed with the argument, because if basically what you're saying here is if legally none of this stuff applies, what is the point of having a charter or bylaws? It's worth nothing. If you're saying legally we could do whatever we want. So
of course they have to do mental gymnastics, because that's what that is. That's mental gymnastics to try to justify cheating in the primary where you were publicly telling. So this goes back to the Hillary Clinton. I have a public position and a private position. So publicly the DNC says that they're fair and even-handed, but privately they know they're cheating everybody. Right? That's what it sounds like, right?
Right. Totally. And what's really astounding to me is, it's the DNC lawyer, but you would think the DNC lawyer is maybe consulting with executives at the DNC, Tom Perez now, about this case. Like, they're aware of it. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is aware of it. They've been trying to get it thrown out of court. You would think that maybe they'd be in consultation, like, hey, here's what we want you to say. Here's what we want you to stay away from. So at a time when the DNC, the Democratic Party, is at an all-time low in popularity, they're going out there in this, I wouldn't even call it tone deaf. It's like on another planet, basically saying, yeah, we could, if we want, go back to the 1920s and have the mob bosses decide.
And so how does this I don't think because what the Hillary Clinton campaign and the Debbie Wasserman Schultzes and the Donna Brazile, who's a 15-time loser, what they have proven is that they're not all that smart. They have a lot of money because they're connected to people who have a lot of money, but that they weren't smart in making it. That's just basically crony frickin' politics. That's all that it's nothing to do with those people being smart. Look, they lost to Donald Trump, which, as Bill Maher puts, that's the equivalent of Bill Buckner letting the ball go through your legs. You can't blame the grounds crew. You can't blame the grass. You can't blame the dirt. You can't blame the hole in your glove. It's your fucking fault. Everybody blames Bill Buckner, and it's fucking Hillary Clinton's fault. It's John Podesta's fault. It's Neera Tanden's fault. It's Robbie Mook's fault. It's Debbie Wasserman Schultz, because those people are the magnitude of their dumbness on purpose, by the way, because that's what this is, because they're trying to do mental gymnastics to justify being liars, to justify cheating the progressive wing of their party, and justify taking money that corrupts them 100%. So instead of using their brain power for good, they use their brain power to justify corruption and try to prop up a frickin' evil system that is wrecking the country. So now you know how stupid they are, because even Barack Obama is just as dumb as these people in a sense, because when Hillary Clinton was trying to win against Donald Trump, he was out there pushing the TPP as she's out there trying to say she's not for it. But we all love Barack Obama. So that's the hubris of the corporate Democrat. Right now, the Democrats are having a hard time, and nobody believes in them. Their poll numbers are lower right now. If they held the election again, Hillary Clinton would lose again. If they held it again, Trump would fucking beat her. He's the most unpopular guy in the world, and he would still beat her again today. And so right now, what the Democrats are doing, when the Democrats' popularity is lower than pancreatic cancer, they got Barack Obama coming out going, yeah, we're corrupt, and fuck you. I'm going to take $400,000 from a bank, and I don't give a shit what you think or how this looks or how much you fucking hate us. And I'm going to have a lawyer go down in Florida and tell everybody to go pound sand if you don't like that we're corrupted. Go fuck yourself. You got nowhere else to go again. That's what the Democratic Party is doing again. The dumbest motherfuckers in the world, and they want us to unite behind that shit. And I ain't uniting behind it. Are you not united behind it, Jordan?
No, I'm not. And I will say, Jimmy, a little less passionately than you, the thing about this that troubles me most is, yes, we need to rectify what happened in the past, but you also have to look forward. It's important how this case is decided.
Yes.
Because really, if a judge, it needs to be defined what are the legal and consequential results of rigging a primary. Because if there are no consequences, it's not like Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and the gang are going to warm up to Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, whoever it is in 2020. I think it's going to be a progressive. If they know, oh shit, we did this in 2016, a judge, there's no consequences, so let's double down. Basically, it's very important, because the bottom line is, if we've lost the rule of law here. Police can do whatever they want, no consequences. The politicians, Clinton doesn't have to go to jail. Now Uma Abedin doesn't have to go to jail. It came out today that emails were being forwarded by the Tooth Fairy to Anthony Weiner, but she didn't know. So if we don't have free and fair elections and there's no legal consequences for rigging that, then we might as well all move to a third world country, because that's what we are.
That's Jordan, very well put. And by the way, your reporting on this is fantastic. Are you getting pushback from people for reporting on this? Because I know there's a lot of Democrats that don't want to hear this story.
Oh my God, you Bernie bros, why are you looking into the past? Just move on. We must unite and resist and la la la. And I say to that, honestly, when I don't care if it's against progressives or not, when the lawyer for a political party says we essentially can bypass the voters, that's kind of newsworthy and relevant, and fairly scandalous. So I'm not moving on, and it needs to be covered, whether this lawsuit is thrown out or not. It's very scandalous. I saw Jake Tapper retweeted a story about this. I haven't seen him actually do anything on it. I haven't seen Morning Joe talking about it, Hardball Chris, any of these folks. So we'll see. And to tell you the truth, got to give a little tough love to my man Bernie. I haven't heard Bernie say anything about this, because he's playing nice right now with the DNC. But listen, this is about democracy. It's bigger than just what happened in 2016. It's about the future.
So let me just real quickly ask you about that Bernie Sanders situation, because I find myself going back and forth. And, I was told that his Unity tour was originally a Medicare for All tour, and Tom Perez hijacked it. And he decided to make it. Have you heard any of that before?
Well, a little breaking news, Jimmy. Not breaking news, but common sense. Bernie wanted Keith Ellis to travel around the country with him. And the DNC stuck, Tommy Tom on him. No, I believe that it was originally, regardless of Perez, going to be kind of this, barnstorming Republican states, disappearing middle class, dip in some climate change and other things. And obviously the DNC, they don't. He's not a Democrat, Jimmy, but I want your email list, and I want to get on your bus and plane and share the stage with you. And it was the most awkward thing. I mean, literally, Tom Perez was speaking, and the thousands were Bernie, Bernie, and then Perez is chanting Bernie, and it's just, you could tell that they're trying to get this guy off stage. Then he's on TV. I mean, the interviewer is saying, "Do you believe in single payer, Bernie?" "Yes, I do." Yeah. And Tom Perez is, "Well, I believe we need to lead with our values and blah blah blah." And it was ridiculous. Listen, I'm trying to get an interview with Bernie, so I got to be careful. But listen, I'll be honest. I don't understand the strategy. I would ask him about that. I think he truly believes he could bring these people over to his side, and maybe to a certain extent he can. But he's not going to change the culture, because what the DNC lawyer said, that's about the culture of all of neoliberalism.
Yes, that. So I know. It still looks like I think Bernie. This is my theory. Again, wherever it's worth is that I think he doesn't think a third party is viable right now at this point because of the way the system is stacked and it's rigged against third parties, right? So it makes it extremely difficult for something like that to succeed. But guess what else is really extremely difficult? Getting Donald Trump elected president, but somehow they did it. So
I mean, honestly, Donald Trump could have run on the marshmallow ticket, and I think he would have won, because I don't think it was about him. I think it was actually that he wasn't touting the typical Republican line, even though he's full of shit. I disagree.
You're exactly right on that, Jordan. This was an anti-establishment election. This was an outsider election, and the Democrats ran the emblem of an insider, a corrupt insider who's been hated by half the country since the day she got on the scene. So, again, just more of those people being dumb. The people running the Democratic Party. You think they're smart? They must know. Tom Perez, he's used to be the labor secretary. He must be smart. A labor secretary that didn't give his card check, that didn't stand up for unions in Wisconsin, that wanted to sign a TPP to furtherly undercut war. So that kind of labor secretary. So these people don't know anything. They just know how to do the bidding of their donors. And and Barack Obama, we had Thomas Frank on, who referred to him as a buffoon, right? Because he was a buffoon. As far as the way he ran government was pretty much how a right winger would run government. Bob Dole would have ran the government. So you think that this lawsuit? I also believe it's super important going forward. But what do you say to the people who say we shouldn't and we got to shut up? Because what I say to them is, if you don't learn from history, you're bound to win in 2018, right?
Yeah, let's just stand by, keep pushing forward centrist to Republican candidates on the federal and local level. Let's just totally disregard the millions of millennials. Resurgence of the Woodstock crowd that's very progressive. Let's just ignore numbers, data. Bernie is the most popular senator or politician in the country. Numbers don't matter. We're like Republicans. Climate change doesn't exist. Yada yada. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds smart. And by the way, Jimmy, I will say it's quite possible. Like Al Franken is a United States senator. Why couldn't you have beaten Hillary Clinton? It was possible last year. Maybe I'll start the gossip for 2020.
Oh, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe it's time. Jordan Chariton, everybody check out Jordan Chariton. We got to. I know you have a meeting to get to, so we got to let you go.
I will just add quickly, I don't want to start a scandal, but I've been getting a lot of messages with requests that you and I do a recurring segment or show on the Young Turks. I have not gotten an answer on that, but I'm getting a lot of hashtags lately Jimmy Dore connection. So
well,
just want to let you
I'm all for it, Jordan. You know, I have you on Aggressive Progressive whenever you're available. So that's the show I do for the Young Turks exclusively, is their Aggressive Progressive show. And whenever you're available, you're often traveling and you're a busy guy. You're an actual reporter. But whenever you're available, we always have you on. So there's that. But I would love to do something else, just you and me. That would be fantastic.
All right. We'll have to talk to the. We'll
All
get
right.
the
Well,
pulse of people.
ask the Kimo Chabi and see what he says.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, buddy. Take care. Jordan Chariton, check him out at tytpolitics.com. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's youtube.com/tytpolitics. And you have your own channel too right now, right?
Yeah. Truth Against the Machine. Check it out.
Truth Against the Machine is Jordan Chariton's own personal channel. Truth, I like that. Truth Against the Machine. All right, Jordan, take care, buddy. We'll see you next time.